So I was back there at the back, and somebody who had never been here before said, well, and they didn't know who I was, and I'm just wandering around. And so they said, have you ever been to a church that had a ladder up front and a target over the pulpit? I said, no. What do you think that is? So welcome all you people out there who've never seen a target hanging over the pulpit and a ladder up front named Far Above and a door with a wreath. But we love the Hebrew calendar around here, and so we celebrate first fruits, and you've got your bulletins out there, and so we're actually celebrating 2 months, and that is Sivan and Tammuz. And according to the Hebrew calendar, this year that we're in is 5784. And so they count their years different than we do. We're 2024 and they're 5784. And 5700 means may it be the year of. 80 is and in the Hebrew alphabet, there's sounds and there's symbols and there are meanings to them. And in our alphabet, ABC means ABC, but it's not in the Hebrew alphabet. And so 80 there is a word that means pay or is pay, and that means voice. Tell your neighbor, I got a voice, and you're going to hear it today. Yeah, I got a voice, I got a mouth, and that's what pay means. So that's 50. May it be the year of pay. May it be the year of the voice. That's why every month we've had a different voice in this house representative of the Hebrew year 5784, and then 4 there is a Hebrew word, dalet, and it means door. So the reason that I've got, behold, I stand at the door and knock up here, that has become our theme for this year in this place. And on January the 2nd, Isaac, when I go to bed, I sleep all night as opposed to somebody else in this room. We haven't been able to stay in the same hotel room for years because I go to bed and go to sleep and she wanders around and I don't know what else, but anyway. But I went to bed on January the 2nd, 2024, and I am dead out asleep, and all of a sudden, there is knocking on my front door. Now, I live alone, have most of my adult life, never been afraid, all of that. There is loud knocking on my front door, and it wakes me up. And so it keeps on knocking. Not only is it knocking, it's like banging now on my front door. And so I did what any woman of God would do. I called 911. I'm just saying. And so I did. I had the phone right there by my bed. I called 911, and they said, what is it, Sandy? I mean, they knew my name. What is it, Sandy? I said, there is somebody at my front door knocking on my door. And they said, well, don't go to the front door, and we'll be there in a minute. And I said, well, okay. So they came and they didn't come in, but I knew they were at the front door. They went all around my house. They went to the windows. They went to all the doors. I have about 3.5 acres there. They cased that whole property. There wasn't anything. And of course, there wasn't any more banging. And so they said, well, there's nothing out here. There's no tracks. There's nothing, but if they come back, call and we'll be right here. So I go to bed and I do my normal thing. I just fall asleep after this whole 911 thing. And so I get up in the morning and I'm going down the hallway, Isaac, to get my coffee. And Jesus says, that was me at the door. Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. If any man hears my voice, pay, and opens the door, Dalet, I'll come in and fellowship with him. So we're learning, back to why I've got a target above the pulpit and a ladder up here, and behold, I stand at the door and knock. When I was learning how to read in the first grade, here they would have the little first grade readers, and on one side there would be see, spot, run, the words, 3 words. But on the opposite page right there, there'd be an illustration, and it would be of the dog running, spot, running. The whole point is I would associate those words with the image. That is called prophetic imagery. Now, they didn't call it that when I was in the first grade, but that's how I learned to read, so that seeing that image of the dog running helped me to understand what's being spoken. So sometimes we use that imagery so that we can get a greater understanding of what is being spoken. So we've got, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I'll come in. So this is an amazing year of fellowship with Jesus. There's lots of voices out there. So the way we're going to thrive in this swirl of intel, and this, even in the last week, hello, in the swirl of all of the voices, because this is the year, or the decade actually, of the voice, we're going to hear his voice first. And then we'll listen to the rest. So we're in the decade of the voice. And so I've got a target up here, and I've had it up here all year, because the Word of God says our words are like arrows. And you notice it's hitting the bullseye. So say this after me. My words are going to hit the bullseye. I'm not messing around. My words are going to be so accurate that whatever my decree is going to hit the bullseye. Thus, there's a target hanging in this sanctuary. So several years ago, in fact, it was 2014, we had invited Chuck to Wichita. We've had Chuck and Dutch in Wichita several times over all these years, but we were there in 2014, and he brought this tallit. And it's the reason that we've got it here. We had Chuck Pierce with us back in April, and I just felt like I wanted to put this tallit out because what he said, I have brought this gift to you and Deanne. It's a tallit. It was made in Israel, and he said, every leaf on this tallit represents a city that is going to break forth in healing in Kansas. So he said, I want you to send this tallit all around Kansas. Well, we have a statewide prayer network divided up into 12 regions, and they're regional leaders. And so it was fairly easy. And we've done that whole trip around Kansas 3 or 4 times since he first gave it to us. But when he came in April, I just felt like we needed to put it up here. So, of course, as Chuck does, he began to prophesy, and he said, I brought that tallit from Israel, but he says, now is the time. Say now. Now is the time to name the cities of healing. I counted them. There were 33. What I noticed is on all 4 corners, there's at least 1 leaf. So I I called Chuck later and I said, I didn't count them. I just got in the body of the tallit. He said, that is the 4 states that are around Kansas. And so right now, what we're doing, to let you know, because I've had several people ask since Chuck was here, what are we doing about that? Because, of course, Chuck says, well, I know that you'll figure it out. I know, and that's just how he talks. And I know that you'll figure it out. I know Sandy and Deanne, they'll figure it out. And so, we've been figuring it out, haven't we? And so we contacted all of our regional leaders, and they are just praying into it to see what God would have us to the cities that he would have us target. He said that cities would break out in healing and that this state would prophesy healing to the nation. And so then we've got a ladder. And I just want to say, I do like crawling up this ladder because we named it Far Above. So why do we have a ladder at the front of the church? Shouldn't you have a cross up there? And so I said, well, and they didn't know. I just said, well, I don't know, maybe we talk to the leadership about it. I am the leader. Yeah. I'm just saying. Yeah. So then COVID came. And Deanne and I decided the only way that we were going to make it through COVID is to stay far above. That's how we're going to make it. We're going to stay far above and operate from those heavenly places. I hope I leave you something to say, Isaac. And then we have our lanyard gifts. And we've had these almost, every month for several months. And so there's a ladder on there that represents going to the high places. And the point would not be, don't come down. Stay up there. Then we've got a chair, or actually it's a throne, which represents that we are seated with him in those heavenly places. And we're going to receive some intel today on really how that really works out in our life of authority and power. And then we've got the $sign, and that Hebrew month of Sivan is representative of abundance and prosperity and transformation. And so that is the reason that we have this imagery, and it's also out in the entryway, to help us to see what God is saying.